Hi, I'm Ernie,
And I'm Ben.
and this is Budget Nerds.
What was all in your mind?
You are not alone.
No, you are not. Welcome back, friends. Today, Ben and I are going to be talking about all things YNAB community. So YNAB communities that are both online and off. And there's no better person to talk about YNAB communities with than our very own Ben, because Ben has been involved with these communities for years. So First off, Ben, welcome back to the show.
Hey.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, good to see you, Ernie.
And let's get going on these YNAB communities. It's funny because, as we were brainstorming this episode, I slacked over to you, hey, how many of these communities do we have? And I was thinking 3, 4, 5, and you gave me a list. And then you added to the list.
I was like, oh, there's also this one. There's
and then
also this one.
A little bit more. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
There's a lot of YNAB communities out there.
Yeah, and we'll get into the specifics in a minute, but I kind of wanted to talk broader because I really think that this is a core feature of YNAB. It's not a software feature. It's not like a thing you can do in your budget, but it's part of what you're buying into when you use YNAB and when you follow this method. You're really buying into a community. So I think YNAB's more than just budgeting software. It's more than just a method for handling money. It's really a group of people all doing it together in a really big way. And so I just want to highlight that. I want to talk about that. And yeah, like Ernie said, I've been a part of it for a long time.
Well, it was that YNAB community that sucked me in. I mean, right away. Well, but when I started, it was basically Jesse. So he was doing a lot of, he was the spokesperson for YNAB. And, but so all of his videos and then all the marketing materials, like they just had this ethos, this feel where I was like, oh my goodness, like these are my people. I mean, these are the people that get me. They're just like me. And they love budgeting. So It was like, I don't know. I searched the globe high and low trying to find folks like this. And it all came together here at YNAB. It's crazy.
I probably wouldn't be working at YNAB if it weren't for the YNAB community because that's what, back before I started working at YNAB, I was working at a library. And I wasn't making a lot of money and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like all my career options were like blocked in different ways, or I'd have to go back to school and get a bunch of debt. Or, it was just I was just not sure what I wanted to do. But one thing I loved doing was hanging out in the YNAB community. I love being on Reddit. I loved answering questions about YNAB on Reddit. That was like my thing. And I probably spent too much time doing that. And I remember beginning of 2016, I was like in the throes of a career crisis. Really, I didn't know what I wanted to do next, and I tried a bunch of things that didn't really work. And my wife asked me, if you could do anything, what would it be? Like if you could do it, like don't worry about the money or whether or not you have the training or anything. Like what would it be? And I was like, well, what I'd really love to do is work for YNAB. That's not what I said. I said what I'd really love to do is teach for YNAB.
Okay,
that's what I said. That was in January. I actually applied for a support job that spring, didn't get it, and I think I'm grateful for it because that was the first year of the new YNAB, and it was a crazy time to be in support. And then in September, a job for exactly what I wanted, a teaching job at YNAB came up. I applied for it and got it. So I got exactly what I wanted. And when I applied for that job, I literally put my Reddit username in the cover letter. I had a link to my Reddit profile in there, and I was like, look, I've been doing this, which is a little bit of a risk, like it could either be like, hey, proof that I've been teaching, or it could be like, like, I don't know, just you could like analyze how I've been teaching. Maybe I've been doing it wrong or something. But I was always pretty straight laced. I always looked at I consumed every little bit of YNAB material, so a lot of it was in line with what YNAB was teaching anyway. So yeah, and I think that was actually, I know because Aaron told me that was a major reason why yeah, they really gave my application a second look. So yeah, if you want to plan a YNAB, just put your Reddit profile in there.
There we go. Well, that's interesting that you said you were involved in the communities.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I came to YNAB, I didn't even get involved in any of them. Like, I just was kind of keeping an eye on the various communities, but wouldn't actually participate. And I just loved reading all of the, the articles, watching the YouTube videos. And so kind of I felt like a part of the community, but wasn't actively participating. So that was interesting. But anyway, what was it about that community that drew you in, where you're like, hey, I got to be a part of this?
Man, I don't know. I think we were just like all like doing a thing. I asked this question, like, why is there such a vibrant community around a budgeting app? Like, what in the world? Like, you look at other products out there, like there's not a community like this around other products. Like what is it about YNAB that has spawned this incredible community? And I don't know. I think it's this hidden knowledge kind of thing that we feel like we have. It's the method, I think if we were just software, we were just putting along doing software stuff, that it wouldn't be that compelling. But because we have the rules and we have this whole methodology for handling money that's a little different, it gives us something to talk about, and it kind of feels like we know something that other people don't. You know what I mean? We're kind of
getting into cult territory here, right?
Well, okay. I know, it definitely sounds like that a little bit, but like that does kind of make a community a little bit, where it's like, it kind of like draws the boundary, says like, hey, like if you know, that kind of thing. And like, when you enter into this, you're entering into this like kind of like way of doing things, and you support each other in doing things that way, so yeah, there's definitely, hopefully it's none of the negative the horrible negative atrocious damaging things that come from that, but like it does help make a community if you have this like body of knowledge that you are all doing together, and that kind of makes a community. So I think that's part of why YNAB's such a strong community. And also I think, I don't know, I don't want to put too much credit on what our marketing has done, what the company's done. I think a lot of it, the positive tone of our marketing is huge. It kind of is different in the personal finance space. I think a lot of the personal finance space has a lot of negativity, a lot of, pull yourself by your bootstraps, and not like a whole lot of compassion, but YNAB has a lot of that. So I think that's part of one reason why our community is so positive, and that's just attracted more and more people. So yeah, I thought about this a lot. Like, why is there such a strong community? I think it is that it's the method, and it's our positivity. I think it's really, really where it's at.
Yeah, and some other personality traits that I remember sticking out to me, and I still, I notice on a daily basis, people are so nice. I mean, seriously, like the nicest people in the world. They all kind of flock to YNAB, and it's not just the users, it's the employees as well. You mentioned the compassion side. Totally agree. And I think another piece too is everyone's funny. Like,
okay, yeah.
YNABers are, and that's what I picked up right away. And of course, Jesse, he's super funny.
Yeah.
So I'd be watching his videos, just constantly laughing. But then, as I just kind of threw myself into the YNAB community. I'm like, man, all of these people, all the employees, like the users, they're really funny people.
Yeah.
Like, again, these are my kind of people.
They're people. It's really what it says. And I guess if you're a people person, you're gonna flock to a community. But I also think another thing is, it's so hard to talk about money with people that you actually know, like in real life, IRL, that it makes it really compelling to have these online communities in particular, because it can be tough to talk about finances with people that you know in your everyday life. But if it's a stranger,
perfectly okay,
and you have like at least a baseline of language and vocabulary that you share because you follow this method, then it's a lot easier to talk about, So I think there's a lot of trust in the community because of this commitment that I think we really do have toward being positive and being compassionate toward one another, and also this this shared language we have because of the method, and also that we don't know each other in our regular life because most of it takes place online. That makes it just really makes it possible to really have these really wonderful communities and lots of friendships and relationships that grow online too. So
yeah. It's crazy. You go to any of communities, but basically online or off, and people are willing to share their budgets. They're sharing screenshots of actual numbers. But would you do that with a family member, your neighbor? No. But hey, you want to see my budget? To another budgeter? Of course, I'm going to open it up and scroll through my categories, show them my category balances. And
yeah, and then even when you do get together, like we had the YNAB first YNAB gathering back in October. And I was talking with people, and we could talk a little more openly about how we spend money because we had this context, and like our relationship, our friendship that was just beginning kind of started with that as a baseline, so you don't have this tension ahead of time. So yeah, it's something else, man. It's interesting. And I really think it's a differentiator for YNAB that there is this community, compared to, other budgeting apps or even a lot of methodologies out there. It's really I don't know, it's just something that makes YNAB special, and so that's why I love it.
Completely agree. So should we get into some of the actual communities that exist out there, talk about them a little bit?
Yeah, I already talked about Reddit a little bit. Our YNAB subreddit, awesome place. I spent tons of time there before I started at YNAB. I remember I had to like it's a little tough for me because like when I started at YNAB, I needed to like not post personally, like as myself, because that's weird, to be like, oh, I'm secretly an employee of YNAB, so I felt a little sad at first because I was like, oh man, like I want to like continue being a part of it, but I got my fix, teaching people, because I was literally teaching people in workshops.
Yep.
Right. But then about a year after, I was teaching workshops for about a year, and I actually joined the marketing team full time, and my role there was community manager, which was that job is now held by like 10 different people. I did lots of things, but one of the things I did and still do is post on Reddit as YNAB and respond to people and be there to answer questions. And so that was really fun for me to be able to jump in again. So yeah, I'm still actively on Reddit quite a bit. If any of you guys are wondering, is anybody at YNAB reading this stuff? If you post on Reddit or any of these communities I'm going to talk about, that's me. I'm reading it. I read and I interject when appropriate, and you can tag me and stuff. So yeah.
I've never participated in a Reddit discussion. That's just not my style, but I do love following along on some of those threads. Every so often when there's a one that gets, excuse me, a lot of discussion, someone will post it in Slack, and it's really fun to read through all those responses.
Yeah, we love those. Really all the communities we share it internally to encourage one another, and also we get feedback too. That's so valuable. I mean, we release a feature and it doesn't sit right with folks, they'll let us know. and I can take that and I can go to the project manager that's on about that and be like, this is what people are saying. Sometimes I'll like observe and get like a general vibe of how people are feeling about a feature that or something that we changed or something like that, and I can get an idea of it and communicate that. So valuable. Or like sometimes we've literally even just posted on a community and be like, hey, can we interview 5 people about this so we can make sure we're building this feature out right, so yeah, we do all sorts of research with that. So it's such an asset. So yeah, Reddit is one thing. Great group of folks, really. I think Reddit has a reputation for being like kind of cynical and kind of, and like, there is some of that, but like YNAB's a little different. Our YNAB is like, there's a lot of positivity going on, a lot of kindness. So, don't be intimidated by it. If you're like being like, I don't know if I want to be on Reddit, just just be in one little place on Reddit, and that's the YNAB subreddit, and I think you'll have a good time.
I feel like you're talking to me here because I was intimidated by Reddit. And then once I got in there, and again, I'm not posting, but just reading, I was scared to read some of this stuff. I'm like, oh, these people are great. Like, they're fantastic.
Yeah. It's really awesome. So yeah, great place there. I guess the another huge community, there's so many to go to, but I think the most obvious one is the Facebook fans group. So it's called, I always say the Facebook fans group, but like that's not what it's called. It's called let me like get this right. It's called the YNAB parentheses you need a budget fans exclamation point
Okay.
group. And you know what's so interesting about this to me is like a lot of companies will have this isn't a well, I guess this is a thing on Reddit too, but especially on Facebook, like companies will have official groups, that they run. But this is all fan led, 100%. And the folks that run it, shout out to Celia, shout out to Brooke. Y'all do a great job. Tons of work that they do just because they love it.
It's so active.
Like, I am amazed how active it is. They have 76,000 members there, and I remember I started talking with Brooke and Celia at one point. They're the admins there. I think like when they said they like in January or something, they could get upward like 50 posts a day. So
wow.
it's going, and they're super active admins, which is one reason why I think it's a really healthy group on Facebook, because you know Facebook groups, they can get crazy, they can get a little weird, so they approve every post, they make sure it's all relevant, and they direct people to the answers they need. So it's a really vibrant community, really active, and they do all sorts of fun stuff there. So definitely check that out if you're a Facebook person. That's by far the biggest group on Facebook, but there's others too. I mean, Facebook has every group you can think about.
This is where the list started getting crazy for me. I was like, okay, when's this going to stop?
Well, there's another just general Facebook group called Friendly YNAB Support on Facebook. And they're also wonderful. Really, really friendly group of folks there. That's why it's in their name, Friendly YNAB Support. So that's another group you can check out. But then, I
checked that one out, and I'm still waiting for my approval.
Oh yeah, well you got to you got to make sure you're they got to make sure you're legit. They don't just let anybody into these groups.
Well, it's been a number of days now, so I'm getting a little concerned. Like,
oh well, I mean, I can. I know some people there. I could
pull some strings for you.
I could pull some strings for you. No, but seriously though, these admins, they're all volunteers, so sometimes it takes a little time for them to get to it, and they're not being paid for what they're doing. But so that does happen. But it's important to moderate, so that's a huge part of it. But yeah, if you just search YNAB on Facebook and filter by groups, you'll find so much. Pretty much any country, there'll be a group for that.
Wow.
There's like a German YNABers. There's a Spanish YNABers, there's UK YNABers, there's Canadian YNABers, all that. Yeah. So, but also there's like any other thing that you can think of paired with YNAB, there's a group. So there is a YNABing and neurodivergent group.
What's that?
Neurodivergent refers to like folks with like autism or folks with ADD, any kind of like neurological function that's considered atypical, right?
Got it.
And so they support each other and how to handle money specifically for their situation, which is really great. There's a YNAB singles group, which is not what you think off the hand. It's not a place where people go to find dates, although I mean,
it's happening, right?
I'm sure it's happened, but no, it's a folks specifically who are single income, or single who want some support in that situation, which is really great. There's a YNAB plus minimalism group, so if you're a minimalist and you're using YNAB, you can check that out. That's also a great group. It's very active. So yeah, there's anything, pick your poison. Like if there's anything you can think of, pair it with YNAB, search it up on Facebook. You'll probably find something. And if you don't, start another group and you'll probably get members.
There we go. And there's some private Facebook groups too, right?
Yeah. So the fans group is private. I think most of these are private, where it's like only the people that are in the group can see your stuff. And you can
sure.
But you mean like ones that are run by us?
Yes, I guess those are the ones I had in mind, like the debt boot camp.
Yeah,
challenge.
We have 2 groups right now. We've tried like all sorts of different ones that are like that were temporary, where we were going through material together, and that was really awesome for a long time. But we have 2 permanent groups. That one is the debt boot camp. So we have an email series all about paying off debt, and it's awesome. If you want to learn more about that, all you got to go to is ynab.com/debt. Let me just search that up to make sure it works, because yeah, that's right. Yeah, ynab.com/debt, and that'll come up with the debt boot camp, and you can sign up for an email series that goes over all our very best teaching on how to get out of debt and how to stay out. And there's a whole group around that material. And
I always push that debt boot camp in the credit cards and debt workshop, because that's a pretty sensitive topic, right? There's a lot of feelings around that. And so I think there's no better place than to just walk through your debt process, to walk through some of those feelings, and just a place to get, encouragement and motivation in a non-threatening kind of way is at that debt boot camp.
Yeah. And we started those, that in 2020. Yeah. I think it was 2020. We started the debt boot camp Facebook group, and we actually had multiple, because we would go through materials and then we would close that group and then we'd start it up again. Now it's just a permanent group where people can just come and go as they please. And man, we learned so much about what kind of teaching works and what doesn't work from that group, because we were just trying stuff out. And like probably the biggest thing, if you've been through any of our materials about debt, you probably noticed that we really harp on rule 2 when it comes to paying off debt, saving up for non-monthly expenses, so you can prevent debt. And we harp on that so much because we think it's so important, even more important than paying off the debt that you had in the past, is save for those non-monthly things, because that breaks your reliance on debt. And you could tell I'm like passionate about it, right? Just as I'm speaking about it. And the reason why we're so passionate about it is because we taught that, and we've always taught that for a long time. But when we taught that in the context of a community, man, people responded so strongly. And so we really kind of socially proved that was a really compelling teaching.
Interesting.
And because of that, it's really big in all our materials. So yeah, I love that community in particular, because it just really helped us define our teaching in such a powerful way. So really exciting. And then we also have another group for the More Money Challenge, which we've talked about a couple times on Budget Nerds. The More Money Challenge is a 1-month challenge to cut spending, to track your spending if you aren't already doing that. And the biggest one is to not eat out at all for a whole month. And so it's just a way to kind of reset your thinking around your spending.
And the More Money Challenge, I think, is one of those challenges, one of those endeavors where you need other people. I tried doing that on my own, and I ended up dropping out of the More Money Challenge within like 2 weeks, I think. I just couldn't do the no eating out thing. But I did surround myself with other people who were also doing it. I had no one to hold me accountable.
Well, your family was against you, right? I remember this. Your boys were not on board.
Well, I was not going to impose it on them. So while they were eating out, I was, eating my turkey homemade sandwich at home. I'm like,
that's pretty sad. That's pretty rough.
Not working out.
Yeah. So if you need some encouragement, if you want to do something tough like that, jump into that group as well. It's just search up More Money Challenge on Facebook. And again, we have an email series around that as well, with handouts, stuff you can color. Oh, there's a whole thing. So tons of fun there. So and I would imagine, I think we found a really good place here with communities at YNAB, like when we have specific teaching. we might make a group around that just to support folks on that specific teaching. And then there's these larger, more general communities out there that are really great ways for people to communicate just about YNAB in general. So yeah, there's tons. There's the hashtag YNAB community on Instagram. If you search that hashtag, you'll find tons of people talking about YNAB, and you can hang out there. Yeah, it's everywhere. I mean, I think we have a community here on YouTube and in the emails that we get from folks who listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
So many wonderful people have written in, and we've built something really special here too, I think.
And this was a complete surprise, right? When we launched the show, we're like, I have no idea what this is going to be like, but we're going to just talk budget nerdiness. And wow, realize there's a lot of people that also want to talk about it with us.
The nerds arrived for sure. Yeah. And I've heard from folks on our own team too. I remember I was talking to one person on the bus when our team was headed to Joshua Tree, because we were all hanging out in Palm Springs for a retreat with the whole crew. And I was just talking with someone, and yeah, I won't say her name because I don't want to. I don't have her permission, but yeah, she was telling me about how she just felt like she was so alone in all this. And she started at YNAB after we started Budget Nerds, and yeah, she felt like she was so alone in all this. Like she was really interested in personal finance, in YNAB, in budgeting, but she couldn't talk to anybody about it. And she felt like she was a weirdo, and then we said, "You're not alone," right? And she was like, "I'm not alone. It's so good." And that just, man, I just love that. So yeah, it's great. It's really, and I that's what I love too, is that "You're not alone" tag. We've been doing that since the second episode, right?
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah.
And it's because somebody wrote a comment and said, "I'm not alone. Oh my gosh." There's other weirdos. There's other nerdy people like me.
Because when your spouse gets a new job,
mm-hmm.
and their pay cycle ends up being on every other alternating with your pay cycle,
yeah,
you got to share that enthusiasm, that excitement with someone, right? Right. That means every single week, new budgeting is happening, and that's the stuff we get excited about.
Are you talking about that post in the fans group?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a post. Okay, we pulled out. Good transition, Ernie.
And this happened to me in real life too. So like,
it happened to me too. Yeah. Okay. There was a post. This is a perfect example of a typical post in the fans group on Facebook, right? It said, they said, "Just started a new full-time position, and the greatest thing." So not that they started a new full-time job, like that's okay, whatever. Like they got a cool job. But the best thing about it is that I get paid on the opposite week of my spouse. Only this group would understand the absolute joy of, and they put it in all caps, weekly budgeting. Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, that is seriously exciting stuff. And that's the stuff that I got excited about when I started getting into personal finance. And then to find a group that also celebrates those weird kind of things, I'm like, I'm in. Mm-hmm. Love this group.
Oh yeah. Before I started at YNAB, I had two jobs. My wife had another job, so she got paid on like the 15th and the 30th, and I got one of my jobs also got paid on the 15th and the 30th, and my other job was bi-weekly. And so the number of paychecks that I would get that I could budget was like, it was bananas. So that was fun because there were like lots of different things, but I don't want to go back to working two jobs because I like the one job. It's nice to, my brain is much happier only having to think about one job and my family and all the other stuff.
Yeah, when YNAB moved from monthly pay to bi-weekly, that got us on the alternating pay schedule.
So you're doing it now?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so all 52 weeks of the year, there is a paycheck that hits on Friday.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, we get quite a few. Cause, yeah, I'm still doing that every other week, and then also my wife's on the 15th and 30th. So yeah, I get. It's every once in a while there's like perfect storm where it's like all at once, like two of those paychecks at the same time. But I that's nice to be able to spread it out as much as possible. So yeah, anyways, that's the kind of post you can expect to see in the fans group. Yeah, why don't we talk about, because I pulled a few posts from Reddit and from the big YNAB group on Facebook. Should we talk about some of those?
Absolutely.
All right, so first up, we'll talk about Reddit. I think there's like several different kinds of posts you'll see on Reddit. Like you'll see folks, well, one, you might see folks with feedback about a feature or something like that, or questions about new things that come up. Those are the ones I'm really looking at a lot. And then a lot of times you'll see like what's called a rave. Actually, the tag is called rave on Reddit. And this is a really good example of that from the time that we were recording yesterday. Somebody posted, YNAB truly works! ! They said, I bought a used car during the pandemic with a 6-year loan. I just paid it off in a little under 4 years. I make minimum wage. Okay, so this person makes minimum wage and they managed to pay off their car early, which is amazing. I also moved and pay higher rent, bought furniture, had a root canal, oh my gosh, and crown, among many other things. YNAB kept me on track during all of it. I'm so happy to be debt-free for a little while. My next goal will be to start actively saving for a mortgage because I want to own a horse farm. Maybe it's a pipe dream. Maybe it'll take my entire life because my income is so low. But honestly, I think it will be doable eventually. YNAB gives me hope, at least. Man, I love that. I mean, for somebody with a low income who's just like, this feels hopeless, when they get organized, they can do some things. And yeah, it's just awesome to see. So you'll see posts like that all the time on Reddit.
And then there's rave and advice for new people.
That's what I put on this. Yeah, like you'll see folks. So you'll have like raves like that, but then this is one thing I love about the YNAB community is you have new people all mixed in with the old grizzled veterans, right? And so you'll have folks that are asking questions, and then you'll have people that are just starting. Like this person that you're about to mention they said 34 days in, but they have some advice for new folks. And so you get a lot of that too.
Well, let me go ahead and read that one. So 34 days in, YNAB has changed my habits and opened my eyes. I've been using YNAB for roughly a month now. It has really opened my eyes and shown me how many subscriptions or random expenses I have throughout the month. Also, when I first started, I severely underassigned what I thought I'd spend on expenses. Luckily, I created a forgot stuff category in beginning of the month so I can ensure I cancel those unused, forgotten subscriptions. With this category, I was able to adjust my budget for those forgot stuff items into March or simply unsubscribe. I now know going into March what my habits tend to be and how I can adjust. So here's the advice. So for everyone just starting out with YNAB, I recommend creating this category because you will forget some things and will most likely go over budget for a few of your categories, but that's okay. Move on to next month and cover those overspending categories.
Yeah, and I love this because if you look at the comments, there's some folks being like, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea to have like a forgot this stuff category. And then there's other folks that are like, oh yeah, I totally resonate. And I can confirm it got better and better as I used it. So, again, you have this just a whole different group of folks. You have folks that are using YNAB a long time and folks that are new all together, which is really great.
And there's got to be this power, right? This authority almost from the users speaking to other users, right? Like, of course, the YNAB team, the paid employees are going to say, hey, forget or create a forgot stuff type category. But when you hear it from the actual users, I think that carries a little bit more weight. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I like that.
Well, you have this extra layer of trust because, they're just speaking from their heart, and that's absolutely awesome. Not that YNAB employees aren't, but, it's there's extra power there. So it's pretty cool. Let's move on to the fans group because we're not allowed to show screenshots of this one, so because I don't want to show people's real names and all that, but without their permission. But this one I really liked. You'll see this on Reddit too. Just it's not necessarily about YNAB. You'll get questions that are just personal finance kind of questions in general, which can be really cool. One person wrote in, they said, I'm discussing the idea with the 15-year-old on giving her a lump sum of money for clothes for the year. And I thought that was kind of a cool idea as far as like, handling things. Does anyone do this? And if so, how much have you found to be a good amount? I told her I would pay for under things, but shoes and everything else would be up to her to budget and shop wisely. Yeah. So like, they're like, what do you guys think about just giving your kid like a lump sum money for something for a whole year, and then, hey, making them budget it. Right. And that had, at the time I checked, it had like 40 comments. It was very lively. I saw another one kind of in this same vein where they were like, hey, here's the screenshots of my medical insurance plan from work. Which one should I choose? Like, you know, and there's lots of advice there too. So, it's cool that it's not just about YNAB. There's also just posts about personal finance in general and what I should do, you know?
Yeah. And the screenshots of their budget trying to troubleshoot actual problems. Hey, here's what I'm seeing. What did I do wrong? How do I move forward? And that's why I like going through the fans group. I like seeing how YNABers approach those problematic areas, you know, because those are the things I'm working through in the workshops. And I have, you know, what I think is like, well, my approach, but then I like seeing it from the user's perspective as well, the language that they use. And then, of course, all the advice that other YNABers give on, you know, how to move forward. So,
yeah, I mean, and that support is huge for us too as teachers at YNAB. I mean, so many things that users have come up with, not just like approaches for handling problems, but like different, like little turns of phrases for teaching.
Yeah.
So many things that have been incorporated into our official teaching. It's always a conversation back and forth. So, yeah, you'll see lots of that where there's like somebody's like, what's going on in my budget? And here's a screenshot. You know, it gets that specific sometimes, which is, you know, super helpful for our support. Like, you know, if YNABers can support each other, that's great. And I think a lot of that is possible because we have such a strong method and because we teach it so strongly, and because we have good documentation and stuff like that. YNABers can support each other when they have an issue. And sometimes folks prefer that even over to reaching out to our support team. And then you'll see folks like I feel like it's become a thing on Reddit where somebody's like, my bank isn't importing, and like the comment is, it's like almost snarky. It's like, talk to YNAB support. It's like they made a response, but he's like, there's nothing somebody on Reddit can do about that, right?
Right.
And I think some users are a little bothered seeing a post about that because there's like, what are we gonna do? You know, so there's some things you always got to talk to support about, but sometimes you just want to hear from your friends, you know, in your group and get help with that. So yeah, there's posts like that. There's posts that are just raving about what YNAB's done for them, you know, kind of YNAB wins. There's discussion types posts about like there was one on Reddit the other day about types of emergency funds. Like they were asking the question, is my emergency fund really just an income replacement fund? You know, is it really just because you're dialing in all these true expenses? And I jumped in on that one because I was like, yeah, I think it is. I've been thinking about this a lot. We could do a whole episode about this, about what an emergency fund really is when in the context of Rule 2, you know?
Yeah.
Does it really just become a one purpose emergency, which is really just to save, replace your income if you lost your job, you know? Yeah, so there's lots of discussions just about personal finance in general on Reddit too. So, and
then you pass that discussion on to me. You were just mentioning the emergency fund, and you said, "Hey, I think pretty much it's just a job loss category."
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh, that I get it." And then actually, I went home, or I am home, but next time in the budget, I created a job loss category.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Man, see, this is the difference between you and me, Ernie. Like, I think things to death, and you actually just go do it in your budget. Like, it's just, you actually experiment. I'm like nervous to actually make a change in my budget. I've thought for like a year, like, should I change the name of my emergency fund from Prudent Reserve to Job Loss? And you're like, I just went and did it.
Yeah, I love doing that kind of stuff.
I don't know why I can't just make the change. But yeah, anyways, that's an example of the community informing the content turning around informing the community. It's like this conversation that happens all the time. So we at YNAB are so grateful for it because folks get support. They get encouragement. I think it helps retain folks a lot because they're just a part of this community.
Feels good to be heard.
Yeah, it does. And also we get tons of research done. Like if I ever need, if anybody on our product team ever needs help with, like if they need to do an interview, they're interviewing users all the time. So if they're like, I need experienced YNABers to interview about this, I'll just post in like 100 people on Reddit or on the fans group. We'll jump in, So that's super valuable and helpful. But also it informs our content so much. I mean, so many ideas that we've talked about on Budget Nerds came from the community. So It's a conversation and we love it.
All right. Well, we're winding down this episode, but before we let you go, we got to do some more YNAB wins. Ben and I have 2 of them for you, so let's do it. All in your mind. My YNAB win comes from Alex. Alex emailed in to us. When I started using YNAB in February 2020, despite having a good income, I was living paycheck to paycheck. Every month doing a dance of trying to figure out how much I could afford to put towards my credit card debt, but still leaving enough in my account that I could pay the mortgage before I got paid for the month. And inevitably, some true expenses I wasn't expecting would come up and send me back to square one. It was stressful. Now it's been 2.5 years and I still feel broke compared to my colleagues because they all have multi-million-dollar houses and I shop at Aldi and don't go on fancy vacations. But I no longer have credit card debt. My car is paid off. I'm budgeted out 3 months and I'm contributing to my retirement account. My net worth has tripled and just crossed the $1 million mark.
Oh, look at that.
Awesome. I love this win because that's what we always run up against with budgeting, right? Well, I make too much money. I don't need a budget kind of thing like that. But even if you make a ton of money, it can still be stressful. You can still be in that paycheck to paycheck cycle. And that's what Alex was experiencing. Started using YNAB and now tripling that net worth, crossing that $1 million mark. That had to feel pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh man, that's so cool. Love to see it. There's folks out there that are millionaires and you might not know it because they're living like Alex. They're still shopping at Aldi.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty crazy. Love that, Alex. All right. I got Mariana wrote in on the Ernie Changes His Budget episode. Mariana said, my partner and I have always been good at saving money. We actually started YNAB so we could start giving ourselves permission to spend money without feeling guilty. Love that. So this is like almost the opposite here. This summer, I started a new hobby and have sunk $500 into it. Normally, I either wouldn't do that or felt very guilty about it. YNAB allows me to know that I'm not going overboard and am spending my money according to my priorities. Love that. More fulfilling life, even as you still save, and you don't feel guilty about it. So, man, just love that. Right
there, the power of Rule 1, right? Giving jobs to those dollars, and now you have activated guilt-free spending. Love that.
Yeah. So, if you want to share a YNAB win, let us know in the comments below. We'd also love to see any thoughts you have on the episode there. Or if you're listening to the podcast, email us at budgetnerds@ynab.com and we'd be happy to get back to you.
Until next time, friends, happy budgeting.
Happy budgeting.